myself, I filled it in. No time for the doubt, they counting me out, I'm getting it in, yeah. No time for no loss, I'm paying the cost, I'm in it to win, yeah. Refuse, mine, it can't be diffused. If you ain't thinking the same, then we playing by different rules. You can't see the vision, we living at different views. Until we complete the mission, keep getting up, never snooze. I walked a mile in my shoes, had the mind of a fool, chasing diamonds and jewels. Trust me, I was confused. Started minding my business and used my mind as a tool. Ended up finding my purpose and found the time to get to it. They told me I couldn't do it, they told me I couldn't make it. They sold it, could never break it. That's sadly mistaken. I need a piece of the pie, I want it so bad I can taste it. They told me like told me, keep on running toes, they gon' take them. Refuse to lose, build the win, apply myself, I filled it in. No time for the doubt, they counting me out, I'm getting it in, yeah. No time for no loss, I pay for the cost, I'm winning to win, yeah. Refuse to lose, I built the win, apply myself, I filled it in. No time for the doubt, they counting me out, I'm getting it in, yeah. No time for no loss, I'm paying the cost, I'm in it to win, yeah. Refuse.
Welcome back to CTC. I'm your gracious host, Carl, and I'm back with another episode. And today we are talking college football playoffs. And I got a special guest with me, but before I introduce him, real quick, just gonna go over my record so far. So I'm currently 165-90 in college football this season in general, just the entirety of the season from week 1 to bowl week 3. I'm 17-10 in the bowls. I went 3-1 from Monday to today. Currently, the only loss I have is USC in overtime, giving up a 3rd and 20 check down for a touchdown against TCU. That's my only loss this week in bowl week this week. And lastly, I'm 3-1 in college football playoffs, which will change today because we got the quarterfinals today, which is why I have a special guest. The only college football playoff matchup today features the Hurricanes and the Buckeyes. And if you watch the show, you know, family to the show, Ace is a Miami fan. So without further ado, let me bring my boy Ace up here. Hold on, my bad. What's up, my boy Ace? Hold on, let me get you right.
It's great to be a Miami Hurricane. It's great to be a Miami Hurricane. I'm glad to be back, man. Thank you for having me.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. You know, once I got past Texas A&M, unfortunately, you couldn't make it for that episode. I had to get you on here to talk about the quarterfinals. So
and I was kind of bad about that. I ain't gonna lie. I wanted to be here beforehand so I could just speak life into my team, but they ain't need it, man. They did what they had to do.
Hey, man,
but I'm here today.
Shout out Mark Fletcher. Shout out that defense, man. Because of them, you are currently in here. Your chance to move to semifinals. For sure.
Some say shout out to the win too. I don't know, man.
Hey,
depends on your
I don't know because that win messed up your kicker. So I don't know if you want to shout out the win.
Hey, man, you know it depends. If you're a Carson Beck hater,
who do you go 1 for 4?
Yeah, that was ugly.
Speaking of Carson Beck hater,
and that seemed to trickle on to Pittsburgh for some reason.
Hey, bro, chill, because you're gonna take this a whole another direction. I ain't trying to go there right now. Hey, but shout out my brother in the comments. He said, shout out CCC quarterfinals. Let's get it. Was a hell of a college football season. No question. It definitely was. Filled with a lot of ups and downs. And he said, we about to put belt to the U. He is an Ohio State fan. So
I'm sorry to hear that, man. my mother, Ohio State fan. I got a dude that worked as an Ohio State fan. So, you know, ain't nothing I ain't used to.
Yeah, it's crazy. My whole family has been Big Ten fans my whole life, I guess, because he's been an Ohio State fan since we was kids. You know, my dad an Op, so he's a Michigan fan. My whole family really Michigan fans. The only reason why my mother not a Michigan fan no more because I went to MSU and I'm an MSU fan, obviously. So
yeah, all y'all Ops.
Yeah,
that's kind of funny.
But let's get into this first matchup. We got Miami, 10th seed, 10th, not 10th rank, but 10th seed Miami versus Ohio State. Ohio State is technically the home team as the 2 seed. This game is later tonight, 7:30 on ESPN. I wrote Thursday. I meant to put Wednesday. It's on ESPN. Ohio State, as of the time I made these banners, were 9.5 points favorites, which is kind of crazy. A lot of points. I'm not gonna lie. There we go. Fix that. So Ace, we talk about who they're led by. We give an X factor, give a winner, and if you want, you can throw in some stats. Definitely can do that. So Ohio State led by Carson Beck, which, whew, boy, y'all gonna need him today. Carson Beck for
Definitely.
this season, 277 of 372, 3,175 yards, 74.5 completion percentage was probably the most surprising stat I saw while making this episode. 26 touchdowns and 10 interceptions. Mark Fletcher, again, shout out to him for his first round performance. He has 158 carries, 857 yards, 5.4 carry, and 10 touchdowns on the year. And Malachi Tony, who redeemed himself, 89 catches, 992 yards, and 8 touchdowns. My X factor for this game is kind of like the X factor for last game. Ruben Bain. He has to be disruptive in that backfield, making plays in the run game and getting to the quarterback in Julian Saying. He has 7.5 sacks on the year. I think he's my X factor for the Hurricanes. And some stats for the Hurricanes. We got the 10th total defense. This is all in the country, by the way. 10th in total defense, 4th in sacks with 41, 32nd in passing defense, and 7th in rushing defense for the Hurricanes. Anything you want to tell me about your squad, Ace?
You hit it on the nose, man. I think that we're a great team. As far as the X factor goes, I want to say Ruben Bain as well. And I think Carson Beck is too obvious to be the X factor, even though we do need him to perform well. But my X factor would actually be Keelan Marion. I think that he's the guy who we need to make big plays. We need somebody other than Malachi Tony to get the ball in their hands and make a play. Keelan Marion, he has the yak ability. He has the return ability as far as kickoff returns, or if he's back there for a punt, which is kind of seldom now that Malachi Tony has kind of taken over that. But yeah, we just need somebody to step up for Carson Beck because we have to push the ball downfield in order for this game to be, even competitive, to be honest, because we're going against a great, very disciplined defense in Ohio State. And Matt Patricia, he's going to do a lot of things to disguise coverages and get Carson Beck out of his, out of his element. And, it's going to be a tough game for sure. So everybody has to show up.
Yeah, man, it definitely is, and you're definitely right about Matt Patricia, who's taking over for. I'm blanking on his name. He went to Penn State this year. I'm blanking on, and I love him too. He's one of my favorite defensive coordinators in college. I can't believe I'm blanking on his name right now.
He from Iowa State.
No, from Ohio State last year to Penn State this year. He's taking over from.
Or he took over from Manny.
No, the defensive coordinator. I'm blanking on his name right now.
I don't know his name either.
My mind is saying Jim Tressel, which is clearly wrong, but I can't think of his name right now. Hold on, let me
too far back, man. You showing?
Yeah, I know. Golly, why am I blanking on his name, bruh? I'm so mad that this happened because he's my favorite DC in college. He came from Oklahoma State, then he went to Ohio State. Jim Knowles. He's replacing Jim Knowles this year. And shout out to everybody in the comments for sure for tuning in. But we got to move on to the Ohio State side of the ball game, who are led by Julian Saying, who was a Heisman candidate this year as a first time starting quarterback for the Buckeyes. He went 279 of 356, 3,323 yards, 78.4 completion percentage, 31 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. Bo Jackson out the backfield has emerged another freshman for the Buckeyes, 168 carries, 1,035 yards, 6.2 a carry, and 5 touchdowns. And the guy that said he's giving it his all this game, Jeremiah Smith, at receiver, 80 catches, 1,086 yards, and 11 touchdowns. Now, my X factor in this game for Ohio State is Davison Igbinosun. I could see him possibly following Malachi Tony, possibly, but I could also see him playing various different positions in that secondary. So I think he's key. In big games, he's made plays. In the Michigan game, he had a pick. I want to say in the Ohio State game, he had a pick as well. I mean, not Ohio State. In the Big Ten Championship game against Indiana, I want to say he had a pick as well. But he makes big plays in big games, and I think he's going to be an X factor for the Ohio State Buckeyes. He has 6 pass breakups and 2 interceptions on the year. Now, speaking of Matt Patricia, Ohio State, first in total defense, first in pass defense, first in red zone defense, and 5th in rushing defense. That defense led by Matt Patricia, like you said, man, has just been phenomenal. And I think the red zone defense sticks out to me because last week, again, not last week, it's been about 10 days since y'all played Texas A&M. But when y'all did play Texas A&M in that first round, it looked like red zone execution was a bit shaky. It looked like it was tough for y'all to score in the red zone against Texas A&M. So that may be a factor going against Ohio State in that red zone defense. Talk to me about the Ohio State side of the ball game, Ace.
Yeah, like you said, they're a great team. They're one of the more complete teams in the nation for sure. As far as the X factor, I'm gonna go defense as well, but I'm gonna go to a more well-known name. I'm gonna go with
No.
Arvell Reese, the phenomenal linebacker that they have. I think that he's going to be somebody who's one going to put pressure on Carson Beck if they can't get home with just their front four. I think that he's somebody who's going to make plays in the passing game. He may follow around Tony at certain points in this game as well, or at least get some hands on him. Um, as far as the offense for Ohio State goes, I think that Cardinal Tate is going to have to come up with some big plays. Ohio State isn't going to win this game. One, if they can't run the ball, because when we look at similar teams who they've played with very good front fours, very good defenses, namely Texas and Indiana, they scored no more than 14 points. And now, granted, yes, that was the first game of the season, last game of the season. There's a lot in between that. However, you can't deny that our defense is comparable to those. And maybe we don't have the same rush defense per se, but we have the physicality, we have the athletes, and we have the length to compete with them on those fronts. So if they're not getting yards in the rushing game and they're not hitting those explosive passes downfield that they tend to do, I think it may be a long day for the OSU offense, man.
I mean, don't say your run defense short. Like I said, you're seventh in the country in run defense. So I mean, I wouldn't sell it short. And I did. I think I did a good job last. Well, when y'all played Texas A&M, I keep wanting to say last week because I'm so used to saying that. But
Yeah.
when I played Texas A&M, I think I did a pretty good job. So I wouldn't say your run defense short. But I do agree, and I will say this too. I know you saying like it's a whole bunch of sample sizes in between the first and last game, but those are the best teams that they played in between. Me with those sample sizes in between. To be honest,
Yeah.
Texas. I mean, I know they have a bowl game with Michigan later on the night. It's the circumstances a little different, but I would say Texas was better than Michigan this year. I would say Indiana's obviously better than Michigan this year. And Michigan was probably the best game they played beyond those two. So I'm not mad at your assessment there at all, to be honest with you. But it's time to pick a winner. And since we already know where you're going, I
For
don't have
sure.
to ask you.
No
I'll
doubt.
ask you second. My winner, on the other hand, which, oh man, this took a lot of thought. It took a lot of breaking down in my head. But ultimately, I said I can't trust Carson Beck in big games. I'm sorry. I had to go Ohio State. I just couldn't live with myself. I could live with myself picking Ohio State and losing. I couldn't live with myself picking Carson Beck and then losing. So hopefully he proves me wrong because I don't like Ohio State. So, but I got to be unbiased on my show and tell the truth. And the truth is, I just can't see myself trusting Carson Beck. Chips on the line, making a play. Last CFP game, the first round game against Texas A&M, to me was the battle of two quarterbacks I don't trust. I don't trust Marcel Reed either. I've been saying it all year. And Carson Beck just ended up being on top. And I don't even think they won because of the quarterback. I think they won because of Mark Fletcher and that defense. So give me Ohio State in this matchup. Ace, tell me why you think Miami's going to win.
Well, I think your assessment is fair. I think, Carson Beck does leave a lot to be desired at certain times, you know what I mean? But I think the thing that helps us in this case is I think we can win in spite of Carson Beck as long as he doesn't, have hit like a Louisville kind of game, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Because we don't necessarily need Carson Beck to come out there and be Patrick Mahomes, you know what I mean? We need Carson Beck to go out there, play it safe to a certain extent when it comes to the shorter passing game because that's where he's the most efficient. But also in that, taking those shots downfield, opening it up, keeping this very disciplined defense honest, and then if we can do that in conjunction with we get Mark Fletcher going, we get Shamar Moore going. I think that's something that's very underrated. We need that. we need that stable of backs all playing. We need everybody to be fresh, and we have to have that rotation going in order to keep attacking them because Ohio State has more depth than Texas A&M has on the defensive side, particularly on that line. You know what I mean? And that is something that could
Well,
wear us down.
you
I
talking the
would
D
think
line?
so.
I
I
don't
mean,
know. I
the
don't know,
defense
bro. Texas
period.
A&M got some. Texas A&M has some dogs this year.
I mean, yeah, sure, but I mean, we look at Ohio State. These guys have been, stacking 4 and 5 stars for the last 10 years. You know what I mean? So it's
I
just
feel
like,
you, but Elko, Elko a defensive guy, and yeah, that defense looking nice.
sure,
I just don't want. I don't want you
sure.
to sell your team short of what
No,
you
no, no, no,
did
no,
against
no,
Texas A&M,
no, no, no.
especially in their house.
Yeah, yeah, no. I believe me. I'm not trying to shortchange them for sure, but I do understand that, like, you know, we obviously we didn't play our best. You know what I mean? And because of that, I know there's a certain perception, particularly with Carson Beck and our passing offense. And our passing offense isn't anemic. You know what I mean? It's not something that can't get the plays done when they need to. We've been playing playoff games. Granted, it hasn't been against playoff competition, no, but it's been a playoff stature game for us for the past 2 months.
Five
You know what I
weeks,
mean?
yeah, yeah.
So it's
So
like I don't believe that we're going to go in there with expecting to lose or thinking that they're that much better than us. I think we very much believe that we are on the same playing field as these guys, if not better, and we're gonna show it, man. It's really just going to come down to limiting the explosive touchdowns. Going to come down to winning those third downs and red zone defense. You know what I mean? It's not rocket science. You know what I mean? Win the trenches, average a good amount of yards per play, and prevent explosives. You know what I mean? That's pretty much the formula for any of these playoff teams.
yeah. First of all, shout out to you in the comments. What is your name? Is your name like Mun, like the arena, like hockey in Michigan State? If it is, shout out to you. Secondly, I see this game being a little bit closer than 11. I'm taking the points with Miami, man. I think that's how close of a game it's going to be. I think 9.5 is crazy. I think this is a
Yeah,
one-score game.
yeah.
Both of these defenses are really good, and to be honest, both of these offenses are kind of anemic. So, um, I know you saying your passing offense has been kind of anemic, which I mean it kind of has been looking like Malachi Tony or bust, especially in Texas A&M. I think CJ Daniels made a crazy play, and I really don't remember too much more in the passing game beyond Tony, to be honest with you. But or maybe I think maybe Keelan had a good play
Keelan,
too. Yeah, Keelan
CJ
had a good play.
Daniels, that's really the three-headed
Yeah,
monster right there.
yeah. So I can feel you, but I also feel like Ohio State's offense has been very anemic against really good defenses. So that's why I'm taking the 9.5 points. I've
I
heard a
feel
lot
that.
about Dawson. Don't y'all want him out of there? Haven't I
I
been
don't.
hearing? Is there like rumors that
I
like the
think
fan base want him gone?
I think there are some people that don't like all the cutesy things that he does sometimes because he does kind of lose the plot. It feels when like for main example, the Texas Tech game. We're killing them with Mark every time we're running it,
Texas
and then
A&M.
you're
Yeah,
doing you're doing these jet sweeps, you're doing this and that, and it's
I
like
remember you.
okay, there's a time and place for that stuff, but it's like sometimes our identity is our identity, and sometimes you just got to strap it up and just go forward. You know what I mean? But
I
I
remember you
will say
complaining.
one thing also about Ohio State. I think I think the bigger X factor for them is probably Max Clare and the
Tight
linebacker
end.
play. Yeah,
Yeah, I could
because
feel tight end. That's a tight end. Mike Claire probably becoming available quickly if they want to get in a quick game. He is a security blanket, and I ain't gonna lie,
mhm.
Max Claire cool, but he didn't have the year that I thought he would have at tight end coming from Purdue. So I
Yeah,
can feel
sure,
it.
but I don't think our linebackers. I think Ohio State for sure has better linebacker play than us, and I
Hmm.
think that's something that could definitely swing the game, just
Well,
because
hold on, y'all got Byzantine and Teray. I mean,
No, no,
y'all
we
linebacker
have good
guy.
we have good linebackers. Don't get me wrong, but what I'm saying is their linebacking core is more complete. They're better in coverage. We
I'll give
we
you better in
support the
coverage Teray
we
because I
support
like
the
blitz.
run very
Yeah,
well, but we're
yeah.
not always the best in coverage, and
I
that's
give you
why I
that
say
one. Yeah,
if
I give you that one.
like if Ohio State comes out and they play tempo and you know what I mean, and they are trying to get the ball out quick, I think Max Clare is going to be a big part of that.
Yeah, I give you better in coverage because they just y'all linebackers just dogs for real. Not really necessarily the
Yeah, they
greatest,
just
even though
want to hit
Teray,
something.
yeah, Teray for
They just
sure
want to
made a
hit something.
play in coverage in that
I mean,
Texas
he put his
A&M
body on
game.
the line.
Yeah,
Thank God he playing
definitely,
today.
yeah, definitely. Thank God that game was 10 days later because yeah,
Yeah,
definitely
right.
put his
Yeah,
body on
if
the
it was
line.
7, it might be ugly.
Yeah, yeah. So definitely shout out to him. But we got to move on to the Thursday games, and we want to start with Oregon versus Texas Tech. This game is a 2.5 point game, which Oregon comes into this as 2.5 point favorites. Oregon was finished third in the Big Ten. Texas Tech is your Big 12 champs. They're currently 12-1. One loss, which is crazy, is to Arizona State of all teams. And I don't think Jordan Tyson played in that. No, Jordan Tyson did play in that game. Somebody was out in that game. I can't remember who. It wasn't Levitt. I just don't remember. I remember I didn't have them winning that game. Me losing that game and they lost. They were that game away from being currently undefeated. It probably a 1 seed or 2 seed themselves, if we being honest, but they're not, and we're here. So this game is 12 o'clock on ESPN. By the way, y'all are the Cotton Bowl. I forgot to say the bowl names. This one, Oregon and Texas Tech, is the Orange Bowl, and that game is 12 o'clock tomorrow on ESPN. Now, Oregon, they're led by Dante Moore, who has turned around the narrative of himself at quarterback, including my narrative of him at quarterback. At UCLA, he just flat out wasn't good. Now, was it the players around him? Was it Chip Kelly? Who knows? But this year, he's having a phenomenal year, 246 to 340. 3,046 yards, 72.4% completion percentage, 28 touchdowns to 8 interceptions. Noah Whittington leads them out the backfield with 116 carries, 798 yards, 6.9 a carry, and 6 touchdowns. And Malik Benson, who has stepped up in place of Decorian Moore, 36 catches, 645 yards, and 6 touchdowns. Now, my X factor for the Ducks, which a lot of people got him as the best tight end in college football. I personally don't, but I'm not mad at people that do. Is Kenyon Sadiq. Against the linebackers of Texas Tech, which they got some. Texas Tech got some dogs and linebackers that make plays. But I think Sadiq is going to be huge. He has to make plays. He has to be that security blanket. He has to make plays down the field. He has 42 catches, 509 yards, and 8 touchdowns on the year for the tight end. Now, Oregon is 9th in scoring offense, 41st in passing offense, 13th in rushing offense, 11th in total offense, and 10th in scoring defense. Tell me something about the Ducks ace.
Well, I think when you mention the Ducks, you have to lead with Dante Moore, their phenomenal quarterback. For me personally, I think he's probably the best quarterback in the remaining field of teams that's competing for the national championship. I mean, besides Fernando Mendoza, but I think that I think he has more physical prowess than Mendoza does. I think Mendoza is more a mental quarterback, and he recognizes coverages and he can do all the pre-snap things that makes certain quarterbacks great. But also, I think Oregon has a really good two-headed backfield with Noah Whittington and Jordan Davison. I
Yeah.
think those two guys are very, very important to the team, and it can't be understated how much they're going to need them in order to have success in this game. And obviously, we could talk about their receiving core. They have Malik Benson. I believe Decorian Moore is coming
He
back.
is back. I was just about to stop you. He is back.
Yeah, you mentioned Sadiq already, and they have also two more wide receivers who can go in there and make plays. So obviously, this Oregon offense is phenomenal. The defense sometimes they can leave a bit to desire. They seem a bit bend don't break, especially coming off James Madison scored a lot of points in garbage time,
Yeah, that game was
basically.
over.
Yeah, so we can't really hold that against them. However, still, I don't think that they are the standard of defenses that are left in the game. But
Can I stop you real quick?
Oregon is a very good game. Yeah.
We support the Group of Five and JMU. Just FYI, before y'all start rolling down my
1,000%.
comments talking about,
Yeah,
oh no,
1,000%.
not again. Nah, we ain't we the wrong ones. We on the Group of Five
Nah, for
side.
sure.
Continue, Ace.
For sure. Yeah. Y'all should see the group chat for sure.
Yeah, you
For,
just
for
had to
many
throw that
years, we've been on
disclaimer
the
out there.
group of 5. But no, that's really all I was going to say though. I think the real question is how many stops can Oregon get on defense? Because the Texas Tech offense isn't they aren't a slouch. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. And we'll talk about Texas Tech in a second. My thoughts on Texas Tech is, wow, I do think that they need a guy who can actually be a dual threat. Baron Morton is not a dual threat. Their offense kind of scares me a little bit at times, but I do think that BYU defense is better than what some people think, i.e. they just pitched that shutout in the second half in the Pop-Tart Bowl to Georgia Tech. So I think that Texas Tech offense will be fine. Now, let's get into the I'm sorry, Ace. I don't know why they are going at Miami. Uh, Texas
I
Tech.
love it.
Let's get into the Texas Tech side of the game. Texas Tech is led by, as mentioned, Baron Morton, quarterback, who went 201 of 300, 2,643 yards, 67% completion percentage, 22 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. Now, you got to keep in mind, Baron Morton did get hurt, and he did miss some games, and Will Hammond did step in for Baron Morton throughout some of the season. Cam Dickey, the running back, who to me kind of took the nation by storm this year, 198 carries, 1,095 yards, 5.5 a carry, and 14 touchdowns, and that breakaway speed that him and Williams got. And Caleb Douglas averaged with 54 catches, 846 yards, 7 touchdowns, but not to be but don't forget to mention Reggie Virgil and Coy Eakin. And my X factor, I could go Jacob Rodriguez, but we all know he's the engine for that defense. I could have went David Bailey. I went Ben Roberts, the linebacker, who in the Big 12 championship game had 2 interceptions that sparked Texas Tech running away with that game in the Big 12 championship. He needs to make plays yet again in a game against Oregon, where I think turnovers are going to be huge for the Red Raiders. Great field position, clock control, and winning field position. All those things being said, I think Ben Roberts is going to play a big role in helping J-Rob establish those things. So I got Ben Roberts as my X factor. He had 74 total tackles, 3 interceptions, 2 forced fumbles on the year. Now, Texas Tech has been a well-rounded team. I have 3rd in total and scoring defense, 24th in passing defense, 1st in rushing defense, tied 6th in the country for sacks with 39, 11th in interceptions with 16, and 2nd in scoring offense. And this is all in the country. Talk to me about Texas Tech, Ace.
I think with Texas Tech, first thing you have to talk about is obviously this defense. Like you said, Jacob Rodriguez is just a turnover machine, and they're going to definitely need a lot of that. But the X factor that you mentioned, Ben Roberts, he's right behind him as far as forcing turnovers on this defense. So those two guys are going to play a big part of showing why this defense got $20 million in the offseason and why they deserve to be at the top of the Big 12 and in the playoff. I think that this is a great opportunity for this team, and I think that they're very up for the challenge. As far as X factors go, my X factor is actually the wide receiver. Hold on, let me pull up his name. Caleb Douglas. Because one thing that I noticed when I watched Texas Tech, particularly on offense, and I've only watched about like 3 or 4 games of those, mostly being the BYU games. But it seems like Texas Tech is a team that finds themselves in 3rd and longs a lot, and they have to build themselves out of those situations. And those come from Baron Morton, extending the play, and Caleb Douglas getting yak and things like that. And I think that's going to be very integral in keeping this offense on schedule. Granted, they're not playing the toughest defense in the world, but I think that it's fair to question the competition that Texas Tech has played throughout the season and how effective they can be as they take these leaps up as they continue through the playoffs.
Yeah, I can feel that. And I won't say that so Texas Tech do have a problem sometimes, like staying ahead of the chains. But you got guys like Coy Eakin making the catches that he can make
Yeah.
contested. Caleb Douglas can do it as well. And Reggie Virgil is a nice little deep threat that came from Miami of Ohio. They got
Terrence
guys
Carter
that
at tight end can still make a play.
don't even look like a tight end, but they got guys that can make plays down the field, and that's why I feel comfortable with Texas Tech. Spoiler alert. I'm going with Texas Tech to win this game as an upset because I just feel like this Oregon defense is prone to big plays. And I think Texas Tech,
Yeah.
when big plays are there, they will make them. And this defense, I think, has the athletes to play with these Oregon athletes in spite of DeCorian Moore coming back, which is huge, by the way, for Oregon. Then they got Romello Height, David Bailey, and these guys hunting your quarterback. So Dante Moore is going to have a heck of a day trying not to get sacked. Again, they're 6th in the country in sacks. So
Yeah.
I think this Texas Tech defense is going to be the reason why they beat Oregon in this matchup and move on to the semis. I just think it's a lot on that defense that Oregon has to deal with. And I don't know if, and despite playing Indiana, I don't know if they played a defense this good yet. So give me Texas Tech. Who you got?
I have Texas Tech as well, and it's mostly because of the defense. I think that they're going to win the turnover battle. I think that they're going to either this is how envision this game going. I think Oregon is going to have to start off like doing a lot of horizontal stuff, trying to keep Texas Tech honest because that defense flies around. But after that, I think they're going to try to take deep shots. But I don't think that they'll be able to protect Dante
Dante.
Moore enough. You know,
Yeah.
I just, and especially if they can't run the game, because I saw a pretty fun stat somewhere, and it said Oregon hasn't won a game where they haven't rushed over 100 yards in the past 2 years. And if you ask me, can they do that against this Texas Tech defense? I don't think so. Even with the two running backs that they had that are really good, you know, what I mean, I just think this is just one of those games where the trenches make a difference. So
Yeah,
yeah, Texas Tech.
and I think we can't discount Oregon's playoff slash national championship history as well coming into this. Like
Yeah,
last year, you beat Ohio State. You play, I want to say you play was a neutral site game and you get blown out as Oregon
yeah,
against Ohio State.
by
Um,
20 points.
yeah, so I can't also discount Oregon's like play away from Hudson Stadium, let alone in the playoffs. So I have to go
I mean,
Texas Tech.
I think that's fair. You know, like we want to look at the coaching staff, but again, Oregon has lost their DC, their OC, and granted, yes, Dan Lanning has had to prepare for these kind of games more frequently than Texas Tech coach, whose name
Joey
slipping my
McGuire.
mind right now.
Joey
Thank you.
McGuire.
And but I think at the end of the day, you know, those things are cool to know, but still, at the end of the day, it comes down to the play on the field.
Yeah. Yeah. So we both have Texas Tech in an upset. Well, gambling upset. Seeding wise, Oregon's the fifth seed,
Not
Texas
very
Tech the
much,
fourth
yeah.
seed. It's not an upset, but gambling wise, Texas Tech is the underdogs here. So we'll move on to the 4 o'clock Rose Bowl, which Rose Bowl featuring the SEC team. Oh Lord. 9 seed Alabama taking on our guy. And we was on the train first, so we ain't hopping on this train. Kurt
Yeah,
Signetti and the Indiana
JMU fans,
Hoosiers.
if you want to say
Uh huh.
anything.
Yeah, facts. Definitely facts. Number one, Indiana, 4 o'clock on ESPN Thursday tomorrow. Like I said, the Rose Bowl. Now, oh, almost accidentally kept reading and read off my winner. Alabama, led by Ty Simpson, who he had a good game against Oklahoma and Norman. Didn't start off
For
great, but
sure.
he finished great. But beyond that, these last few weeks has not been great. But 293 of 457, 3,500 passing yards, 64.1 completion percentage, 28 touchdowns to 5 interceptions. Jeremy Bernard at wide receiver, 60 catches, 802 yards, seven touchdowns. Funny enough, Ryan Williams was second on his team in terms of reception yards, but I put Isaiah Horton, 40 catches, 495 yards, and 8 touchdowns. I couldn't put Ryan Williams, man. He's been kind of disappointing me. Just in his own head, just dropping passes, stuff like that. My X factor though is Jam Miller of Alabama. We'll just put the backfield in general because Alabama needs a run game in this Indiana game if they have any chance of winning this game. And their running off, I mean, their rush attack has been very lackluster these past few weeks. So those are my X factors, him and Hill. Now Bama is 13th in scoring defense, 13th in total defense, 33rd in scoring offense, 10th in passing defense, and 21st in passing offense. Talk to me about Bama Ace.
When you talk about Bama, you have to talk about Ty Simpson. He's the engine to the car. You know, they go as he goes, and I think Ty Simpson at times this year has been very, very, very good. But like you said, that Russian defense or rushing off or the lack of the rushing offense that Bama has definitely been an issue for them because when Ty Simpson is off, everything is off for Alabama, and it seems to trickle even to the other side for some reason. Like it's just this team is is very one dimensional, and it's definitely not the Bama teams that we are accustomed to seeing. But as far as X factors go, I would honestly say Isaiah Horton for me because I think that one thing the Indiana defense does is give up explosives in the passing game, and that is plays to Alabama's strength. So if he's not going down, if he's not making those downfield catches that's shortening the field for them, I don't see Alabama having methodical drives and just going 70, 80 yards down the field and scoring. I think this Indiana defense, even though they are missing a big part of their pass rush from that freak injury that happened at the end of the Big Ten championship.
Yeah, Stephon Daly.
Yes, even with that, I still don't think Alabama is consistent enough.
We'll hold off on picking the winner. You kind of spoiled it, but we'll hold off on that. Um, Yeah, and I want to shout out Lotair Brooks, the freshman receiver for Alabama, who, in my opinion, sparked the Alabama offense in that comeback against Oklahoma. He made big plays. I know Jeremy Bernard had that freak catch, but Lotair Brooks to me was the guy who basically, I don't want to call him, say he was the MVP of that game, but to me, he was a guy that was like a hero of that game. And we'll move on to the Indiana side of the ball game, again led by Kirk Cincinnati. Led by Fernando Mendoza, your Heisman 2025 Heisman winner. A lot of people, including myself, didn't pick him to win. Like, we picked him to win because we figured he would win. But if we had a vote, and well, I'm not saying we in terms of Ace, but if I had a vote, I was voting Pavia. But here's your Heisman winner. He went 226 of 316, 2,980 yards, 71.5 completion percentage, 33 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. Roman Hemby, the transfer from Maryland, I'm saying that's as a jab to Tomo. Running back, 176 carries, 918 yards, 5.2 a carry. And I messed up. I can't. I think it's 6 touchdowns. I think I wrote something wrong. It's 6 touchdowns. I did this at 3 in the morning. Omar Cooper, receiver, 58 catches, 804 yards, and 11 touchdowns. Now, my X factor for Indiana, I'm going to the defensive side of the ball. I'm going Aiden Fisher in that linebacker. At linebacker. He's going to be the quarterback of this defense. He has to have everything set. He's going to be probably blitzing Ty Simpson. He's going to have to do it all, and he's going to have to get everybody in their spots, especially, like you said, they lose Daly due to that freak injury after the Big Ten championship game. Aiden Fisher is going to quarterback that defense. Now, Indiana, second in scoring defense, fourth in total defense, third in rushing defense, 18th in passing defense, third in scoring offense, tied seventh in interceptions with 17, and tied sixth in sacks with 39. Talk to me about Indiana, Ace.
I think when you think of Indiana, Indiana is a very physical team. They're a team that want to punch you in the mouth and they want to keep doing it for all 60 minutes of the game. I think Fernando Mendoza, granted, while he didn't have the flashiest season as a Heisman contender, I don't think that it's much doubt that he has full command of this offense, full command of this team, and he is very comfortable where he is. And I think that is why he is so successful in the games that they play. As far as the X factor, my X factor is Lewis Moore, the cornerback for Indiana. And I think that he's going to have his hands full because Alabama just has a great wide receiver core. And in order for Indiana to have success in this game, they have to, make Alabama have those long drives. They have to stop them on a lot of those third and longs that I think that they're inevitably going to be in because of the lack of the running game and just finishing drives and making sure. And if they do get in the red zone, holding them to 3, I think that's the way that you beat Alabama. You can't just have them putting up 7 on you because if it turns into a shootout, it's going to be hard to keep up.
I trust Indiana in almost any type of football game. I ain't gonna lie to you. I seen them win a defensive struggle. I seen them win shootouts and games they probably shouldn't have been in shootouts with, i.e. Penn State. So I seen them win all types of
Mhm.
games. But my winner, I'm going Indiana, and here's why. Like we both said, Alabama cannot establish a run game. It's been tough probably the last 2 months for them to establish the run, which leaves it all on Ty Simpson's shoulders. And you don't want this Indiana defense hunting your quarterback. And I think that they will be hunting Ty Simpson a lot. And when Ty Simpson is being hunted, he does tend to turn the ball over. And again, this defense is stingy. You got guys like D'Lo Pons, you got Aiden Fisher, Lewis Moore, like you said. You got guys on this defense that make plays. And I think while they do go against a very talented Alabama core, because again, Losair Brooks, who I thought was the hero of the game, he's like fourth on the depth chart. He's behind Williams, Horton, Bernard, and guys like that. I just think that they're going to get to Ty Simpson, and Ty Simpson may give up a couple turnovers. And Indiana's more so game plan is going to be let Fernando do him, obviously, but it's not going to be as risky, in my opinion, as it may be for Alabama. So I think that Indiana wins this ball game because of that, because of the lack of a run game, leading to Ty Simpson has to play hero ball, and I'm not sure if that's what Bama really wants. And I think Indiana is going to have a pretty good time establishing Roman Hemby and those guys out the backfield, opening up play action. And not to forget, Elijah Surratt is a route runner, in my opinion. So I think he'll do a good job getting open
And can
against
make
these
tough
cornerbacks.
catches.
Yeah, for sure. I think that he's going to be able to get open against these guys like Damani Jackson and Brown, who had the pick six last week. I think he's going to be able to get open against these guys. So I'm going with Indiana. Who you got?
I couldn't agree more, man. I'm going with Indiana. I think that also I think we also have to note that this is going to be a rainy Rose Bowl, which is like the first time this has happened in probably 20 years or so. It's none of that iconic sunset that people love
Yeah,
to see. This is going to
Pasadena
be a
Sunshine.
yeah, this is going to be a gritty, nasty football game most likely. And if you ask me who's going to win that, I got to go Indiana.
For sure, for sure. And last, but certainly not least, we got Ole Miss, 6 seed Ole Miss versus 3rd seed Georgia in a rematch, which is funny because I think we had a rematch in both rounds of the CFP.
Hmm.
Yeah, we have. We got the Ole Miss was a part of both of them. Ole Miss was rematched
Yeah.
Tulane. Now they're rematching Georgia. This game is 8 o'clock
And
tomorrow on
Bama,
ESPN.
Oklahoma.
Yep, Bama, Oklahoma. Yep. And the Sugar Bowl tomorrow at 8 o'clock, right into the new year. We have Ole Miss. They're without Lane Kiffin, obviously, who took the LSU job. I think Lane Kiffin's staff is still there and they're still coaching, but he's not there anymore. But they're led by Trinidad Chambliss, the quarterback from Ferry State, who shout out Ferry State, won another D2 championship. But he took the college game by storm. He took over for an injured Austin Simmons. And in my opinion, it looked like Austin Simmons should have never started. But he came in and got the offense going. 241 and 362, 3,298 yards, 66.6% completion percentage, which is crazy. I had to write that down. 19 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. He also had 506 rushing yards and 8 touchdowns. Kawan Lacey, who came out of nowhere, in my opinion, 273 carries, 1,366 yards, 5 a carry, 21 rushing touchdowns, and Trey Wallace, the transfer from Penn State, 48 catches, 738 yards, and 3 touchdowns. Now, my X factor for Ole Miss is still on the offensive side of the ball. I want Deshaun Stribling, the transfer from Oklahoma State. He's going to have to be making explosive plays, contested catches. He's 43 catches, 612 yards, 6 touchdowns. They're going to need his offensive production on that side of the ball because, to be honest, I don't see Ole Miss defense getting many stops, i.e. the first game they played. Ole Miss, is 10th in scoring, 2nd in total offense, 3rd in passing offense, and 33rd in rushing offense. Talk to me about Ole Miss, Ace.
Yeah, Ole Miss is obviously a very explosive offensive team. Definitely one of the best in the country. Trinidad Chambliss has been pretty efficient with the ball, man. I mean, 19 touchdowns, 3 interceptions, over 3,000 yards. I mean, and a over 65% completion percentage. Those are stats that most people, would die for any quarterback, to be honest. I think that, like you said earlier, Keywan Lacey is very, very integral to the success of this team. And I think if he's not in there and he's not healthy, because I know he had a shoulder injury for the past few weeks, and I think that's something that was kind of nagging him. But apparently that I think that might be behind him at this point, which is very good
I think
because,
he's fine.
in my opinion, Keywan Lacey not only is a great running back, but he's also one of the best like pass protection running backs in the nation, and that's going to be very, very important for them in this game. Um, and for those reasons, he is my X factor because he's the closer. He's the guy who's you're gonna have to give the ball. And if it's a close game or they are up, they're going to have to rely on him to bring it home for them.
Yeah, they're gonna really, for real, we be honest, they're gonna have to rely on that defense to get some stops because that's literally why they lost. They couldn't get a stop. They
Yeah,
didn't
and
even
that's the
force a
thing.
punt. They didn't force
That's
a
the
punt.
thing.
Georgia, led by Gunnar Stockton. Now, coming into the year, I was not a big fan of Gunnar Stockton. Now, this is not me saying I'm a huge fan of Gunnar Stockton now. I honestly can't read Gunnar Stockton. I don't know what to make of Gunnar Stockton still, as we have a whole season of work. I still don't know what to make of him. Um,
It's
the
hard to call
quarterback,
it when you only throw to one person.
right? Don't get me started on why Zachariah Branch should have stayed at USC. But anyway, he's the quarterback for Georgia, 251 to 355, 2,691 yards, 70.7 completion percentage, 23 touchdowns to 5 interceptions. He also has 442 rushing yards and 5 rushing touchdowns going the year. Nate Frazier, the running back in a three-headed monster backfield, really four. I mean, they don't really run Cass Jones like that, but you got to throw him in there. He still makes plays. 158 carries, 861 yards, 5.4 carry, and 6 touchdowns. And Zachariah Branch, the guy that Ace was talking about, 73 catches, 744 yards, and 5 touchdowns. Now, my X factor, I went to the defensive side of the ball. I went CJ Allen, the linebacker. Kind of the same reasons for Aiden Fisher, quarterback in this defense, trying to slow down this offense ran by Chambliss. Because I believe Ole Miss came out and got 5 straight touchdown drives against Georgia in their first game before the fourth quarter came, and Georgia finally caught stride defensively and forced stops. But CJ Allen, man, he's going to be huge in this one. He has 85 total tackles on the year. Georgia's 31st in rushing offense, 4th in rushing defense, 11th in total defense, 9th in scoring defense, and 48th in passing defense. Talk to me about Georgia, Ace.
Like you said, I think Georgia's been kind of a tough team to read this year, just because they aren't the prototypical Georgia team that we've seen over the past decade, and well, particularly the last like 7 years for sure. They don't have those the super physical defensive line. They don't have the crazy playmakers who can get you just all the yak in the world, minus Zachariah Branch,
Yeah.
obviously. But and then Gunnar Stockton, he is kind of hard to read because this offense is very methodical in the way that they operate. They're not super explosive. I don't think they average any more than 5 yards per play. You know what I mean? And I think with that, it kind of skews how people see them, just because if you're not in college, if you're not explosive, you know what I mean, how good are you really? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's how I think people look at it. But even with that, I do think this Georgia team is still really good. You know what I mean? They can still play with anybody in the league. And it's going to come down to limited explosives, not giving takeaways, and really, really, I think my X factor for this game will be Kobe Young, who is still their second leading receiver
Is
after
he
missing
playing?
like 6
I was about
games.
to say,
I
is
believe,
he still
yeah.
playing?
No, he's playing. I saw something that said he was playing. Maybe I should double check that.
Yeah, I'm double checking you right now just in case.
But yeah,
I'm
but
about to
this is a guy who was like he missed half the season. And he was still like the second leading receiver. You
Oh,
know what I mean?
he's expect. It says expected to
He's
play.
ready to
That's
play. All right, good. Yeah, so that gives them a deep threat at the very least. You know what I mean? Somebody who isn't Zachariah Branch, who can put the ball in their hands and put some work in. I think that's going to be very important. And this is I think he's a senior this year as well, so it could be his last hurrah. And I think he's somebody who has, I think, underperformed his expectations. And yeah, this is somebody who was a former Hurricane, and
mhm.
he did good there. And he left with the expectation of being that guy when he got to Georgia, and unfortunately, he hasn't been all of that. But he can still make a very big impact in this game, and I think and I think he will.
Yeah, I feel like last year kind of wasn't his fault. I think last year was bad for real. And Georgia, they don't really feature receivers. Like they got guys. They
They
had
don't.
Pickens. They
Yeah.
got Kobe. They had Kobe Young. They had what's his name? He transferred to Bama. Jermaine Burton. They had some
Mhm.
guys, but they Kirby Smart is running that ball. They got superstars at running back, not receiver. I'm sorry. I mean,
Right.
they do have guys, but that's what they feature. They feature running backs. Now, I do agree with your point that Georgia doesn't have the typical like big name edge rushers and stuff like that. Like last year they had Michael Williams, um, Walker, and no, was it Michael Walker? Um, maybe I'm combining people's names. I'm sorry, but they had guys on that D line. They had like 2 first rounders last year
Right.
on the defensive line. So I do agree with that sentiment. They always want to have linebacker play. They got the linebacker play this year. I think the secondary is pretty solid, but again, I do agree that they don't have that typical Georgia D line in terms of like superstar power and stuff like that. But I do think they still are a really good defense. And Ole Miss is obviously
No
without,
doubt.
to me, their engine of their offense, Lane Kiffin, drawing up stuff. So that's going to be intriguing to see. And with that being said, I'm going with Georgia, and I'm going with Georgia to cover the 6.5 points, to be honest with you. Because no Lane Kiffin kind of scares me offensively. Yeah, they put up a ton of points against Tulane, but if you watch the Tulane game, that game was very competitive until late in the ball game where Ole Miss just ran away with it, just like the first game. So
Mm-hmm.
that kind of would scare me if I'm an Ole Miss fan. It's a neutral site game. And I mean, to be honest, that defense, man, Georgia, I feel like Georgia can take advantage of that defense. They can run the ball on this defense, and again, possibly go another game against Ole Miss without punting the ball, which would be crazy. But ultimately, I'm going with Georgia. Who you got?
I think in this matchup, this is one of those things that it may be easiest to frame it as Georgia's floor versus Ole Miss's ceiling. You know what I mean? I think at Ole Miss's best, of course they can beat anybody, but how often are you at your best? And with Georgia, it is, we may not have seen their best, but what we have seen is the base things that they can do. And the base things that they can do beat 90% of the teams in college football. So I kind of have to go with Georgia just off the simple fact that Ole Miss's defense is the worst defense that's left of the 8 teams that are playing
Yeah,
currently.
I don't think I can
So
disagree with that.
I think with
Mhm.
that,
Yeah,
you
I would put
know,
Oregon defense over Ole Miss. Yeah,
yeah, I think with that it kind of makes it a little easy. And like you said, I'm very confident that Georgia could cover 6.5, maybe even the full 7.
yeah.
Because
If
because
you
if
want,
if 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 Ole Miss can't afford to have but 2 or 3 drives maybe
yeah,
that they don't come up with points because Georgia's going to run the clock. You know what I mean? They're not going to be able to Ole Miss not going to get a bunch of short fields. They may not get a bunch of opportunities to have the ball. So
yeah. I
I
mean, in
just
that
don't think
first
that
game
it's
though, Georgia was able to pick them apart throwing the football, which was crazy to me. But that's Ole Miss defense, and not only were they able to pick apart them passing the football, you're right. Ole Miss had 2, 3 drives where they didn't get points and they lost, even though in spite of scoring like 35 straight to start the game.
yeah.
So,
Yeah, and
well, not 35
I
straight
don't
points. But
anticipate that again. I think that Georgia is definitely going to learn from those mistakes, and I think they're going to hold on to that ball because the best way to keep an explosive offense from scoring is to keep them off the field.
yeah, and I don't mean 35 straight points. Let me clear that up. I mean scoring touchdowns on 5 straight drives, equaling
Mhm.
35 points because they didn't
Yeah,
go up 35-zip and lose. I got how that could
yeah,
sound
that'd have
like
been
that.
crazy.
Yeah, that I got how that could sound like that. That's not what I was saying. But
That was a
yeah, we
good
both
cleanup.
got Georgia. So recap, he has Miami. I have Ohio State. We both have Texas Tech. We both have Indiana, and we both have Georgia. Ace, any final words before we end off this stream? And I gotta head up Virginia because the Iowa Vanderbilt game is about to start.
All I'm gonna say is to everybody in the comments that's talking crazy, don't run into me after we win.
All right, short and sweet and simple. My final words is appreciate my boy for coming on the show. Um, got some great football today. We got Vandy, Iowa. We got Texas, Michigan. I'm blanking on the game prior to Texas, Michigan right now. Let me grab my
ASU
phone.
Duke.
Arizona State Duke, appreciate you. And the Tony the Tiger Sun Bowl, appreciate that. And then we got Miami and I said Texas, Georgia and Ole Miss is going to the New Year. Miami and Ohio State is going into the New Year. Excuse me. They're Georgia Ole Miss plays New Year's Day, so the
Yeah.
Miami Ohio State game is going into the New Year. My fault, y'all. But yeah, man, we got some great football going into the New Year, and then we got great football going like coming off the New Year into
Hmm.
2026. So I'm
For
excited for
sure.
that. And then I'll be back Friday morning to talk about the last set of bowl games before we have the semifinals and the final. And not to mention, we got I got a question for you, Ace. FCS championship, who you got?
That is
Montana State, Illinois State.
I mean, I know Illinois State. They were like they on road team every round of the FCS
Hey, they've been knocking
playoff.
out some teams, bro. They knocked out
Yeah,
North Dakota State. They knocked out.
I peeped that.
Yeah, they knocked out some teams. They ain't nothing to sneeze at. I watched that Villanova
Yeah,
game too. Beat the mess out of Villanova.
yeah, but I mean, Montana State been Montana State
That's my
for
winner. I'm going with Montana State, but
like
not
for
nothing.
Yeah, that's like saying like when TCU made it versus Georgia.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, I mean, Georgia's Georgia. You know what I mean? Montana State's Montana State. They have been at the top of the FCS for the past decade, and for good reason. You know.
Yeah, and Montana State absolutely spanked Montana in that semifinal game. Like Montana took the lead, I want to say 24-20, and then Montana State just rattled off, I think 21 straight or something like that. It was pretty dominant by Montana State, to be honest with you. For that reason, I'm going there, but not for nothing, man. I gotta shout out Illinois State. They beat Villanova in the semis. The week before that, Villanova beat Tarleton. The week before that, they beat UC Davis. And then the week before that, they beat North Dakota State. So they got a bunch of teams.
Yeah, that's nothing to sneeze at.
Yeah,
sure.
With some good rep that they knocked out. And it kind of would worry you, just like, I just got Montana State off rip. But I ain't going to lie, bro. Montana State, man, they look really good.
Yeah, it's something about those FCS teams, especially the ones that are at the top of the league. It's just like the discipline that they have, the fire that they play with. It's like it's something that you wish you could see more on the FBS level with like some of the lower teams, I think. But I think that's why they're so good, because it's something that's so hard to get 100 guys to be on the same accord with. You know what I mean? It's just like it's rare. It's rare, and when you do it well, you really do it well.
Yeah, and I mean, not for nothing, like they started this playoff stuff, like they've been doing this tournament style thing.
Yeah.
So shout out to the FCS, but I wanted to get your opinion on that because I can't wait for that game either. That game is like coming up very soon. Let me look when that game is. That game is January 5th. So coming up soon. I think that's next Monday. So
that's sweet. Yeah.
Yeah. So I was looking forward to that game. But beyond that, y'all be on the lookout for I got some cleaning to do, some house cleaning. Like we said, first of all, like, comment, share, subscribe. I appreciate everybody that commented, tuned in, whatever. Definitely appreciate it because you didn't have to. We are a network, and on the network, we have multiple shows. We have the main show featuring Joe, Tomo, and Dave, which you might catch us on there Friday because the Ravens Steelers is definitely going to be a topic on the show Friday. And they already sent out the bird signal for Ravens and Steelers fans to join. I know I'm there, so don't even have to worry about that. But they normally go live from 7 to 8:30ish. You have Unfazed, who went live yesterday. They normally go live on Tuesdays at 9 o'clock Eastern, 8 o'clock Central. That's Joe and AJ talking different sports topics, mainly football at the current moment. We have BWT, Baseball with Teddy, baseball episodes. He doesn't go live. He normally just drops episodes, so make sure you look out for when those drop. Fantasy football with Coach Coombs. With shout out Joe for winning the R2L Fantasy Football League. He beat AJ, funny enough, in the Unfazed Bowl. So shout out to him, but that's a fantasy football show. We have RBO Real Ballers Only, which my Pistons spanked the Lakers last night. So all you Lakers fans in the chats, you already know what it is. But we went into the New Year's with a dub. That's featuring Vaughn. That's an NBA show. We have highlights and lowlights of sports with Dave's Doghouse, and finally in the Red Corner featuring Ty, Ricky, and Tomo, which they go live on Sundays, not every Sunday, but when they do go live, it is on Sundays around 6:30, 7 o'clock. That's all the shows we have on the network, so please like, comment, share, subscribe, and if you like what you're listening to, stick with us. Now, we're going to sign off here. Like I said, man, got to get down the road, got to get in the house to watch these college football games. Ace, again, appreciate you for joining. But with that, brother, no problem at all. You already know, open door policy. And with that being said, we are gone. Peace.
Thank you for staying to the end. If you're watching this on YouTube, please like this video, subscribe, and also hit that notification button so you can be notified next time we put out a video. If you're listening on any podcast platform, subscribe and hit that notification button, y'all, so you can be notified we put out another podcast audio. And last but not least, hit that share button. No matter what you're listening to or watching it, hit that share button and send it to somebody that you know that would love to watch this episode you just listened to. So once again, thank you for staying to the end, and we'll see y'all in the next episode.